In the past, there was a misnomer about diagnosing mild TBIs, or what's also called a concussion. The way that people thought they could diagnose that was by listening to the patient's symptoms and then taking an MRI. Okay? The problem with that is an MRI is a structural evaluation. TBIs or concussions are metabolic injuries. So the actual neuron is injured and neural pathways are disrupted. The real true way to make a decision on whether or not a patient has had a mild TBI is to do video nystagmography testing, posturography testing, and neurocognitive testing. So the three components of our comprehensive objective program involves doing video nystagmography, which is abbreviated VNG, Victor Nancy Gary, posturography or balance and coordination testing, and also neurocognitive testing. The VNG test is a non-pharmaceutical, non-invasive test where a patient wears a pair of goggles and the patient's eye experiences having infrared light shown on that eye so that you can illuminate the eye in the dark. This is very important in doing diagnostics for the brain and inner ear because when the eye is in the dark, it can tell you about different dysfunctions in the central and peripheral vestibular nervous system. For posturography testing, the patient stands on a very sensitive balance plate, and we can tell about how they move around their center of gravity and whether their balance and coordination is off. And the third component is neurocognitive testing, which importantly for us is measured by computer, so it's objective, not subjective, and the testing utilizes the standards in the industry for that testing in a 10-minute web-based platform. Another key component to the objective testing is how the subjective complaints that a patient has correlates to the objective findings. There are 39 possible subjective complaints that a patient might have after having a traumatic brain injury. The objective testing will identify and correlate specifically to those subjective complaints. So when a patient is challenged in saying that they just have these complaints and maybe people don't believe them, we can actually take the objective findings and say why they're having those subjective complaints. During a VNG test, we have several items that are tested: oculomotor portion, positional tests, caloric tests. During posturography, we do a limits of stability test and a modified clinical test of sensory integration of balance. During neurocognitive testing, we test all the different portions of the brain in terms of neurocognitive ability, like memory, like their ability to organize, ability to think. The subjective complaints that match to those objective findings can be things like anxiety, depression, vertigo, blurred vision, muscle spasm, word finding issues, diminished capacities, fatigue. There are many different facets and the list goes on. There's 39 possible symptoms.